Saludos a todos and welcome to the PGP podcast. Welcome. Hey, Josh the Proud Principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD, Garland, USA, ready for episode 33 of this awesome podcast. You know what? It's been a litany of guests from the very first beginning back in May or April when we started this, Dr. Moreno, to right now. But you know what? I want to take this time, and I think I need to do this frequently. Thank you very much for viewing this. You know what? Our numbers go up and down, but I want to thank you because you give some of your quality time to be part of this audience, to be part of this learning group, because it's crucial. It's crucial that we learn from each other. Every single last week, we're sharpening our tools to ensure that we're the best version of ourselves for our students, because you know what? That's what we tell them. And to ensure that this message goes out, just like today's with Principal Kafele, please like and share it. Share it with other people. It doesn't take more than a second, 2 seconds to do that. It's not that we're looking for, a mass audience. Trust me, there is no money in this game, whatever. The money is the smile on a kid's face because you learned how to do that pop with all the guests that we dealt with, positive culture, with a teacher roundtable, with assistant principal superintendent roundtable, the happy show from last week. It's all of those guests that bring the knowledge to you because it's free PED. So you'd like to be on the show also, please reach out on X, on IG, on Facebook, whatever the platform is to be part. Because you know what? We need guests from Iowa. We need guests from Alaska. We need guests from Maine, wherever it is, because universally, we only get better from learning from each other. And so it's the start of the Christmas break, Christmas vacation, New Year, Kwanzaa. It's all the holiday seasons right now happening, and we want to wish you nothing but the best. How about you, Dr. Moreno? Where in the world are you now?
Oh my goodness, Josh. You know what? I missed you last week. I apologize. I just want to make sure that I say that publicly because it hurt my heart that I was not with you last week. But I want to tell everybody that I look at my posts, look at my Instagram. I was doing Christmas at the border. So I traveled through 4 different ports of entry in South Texas. But I ended up at the mouth of the Rio Grande River that leads into the Gulf of Mexico. And oh my God, Josh, I've never been there. Boca Chica Beach. And looking at that and seeing how close Mexico is to the southern border is just amazing. There is no fence. There is no wall. There is nothing. There is a border patrol making sure that everybody is staying on their side of the border. And these are just people that are just fishing and kind of taking care of their own business. And so it was really amazing. But guess what, Josh? Every kid on those refugee camps in Reynosa took home or took back to their little shelters a Christmas gift, a stuffed animal, a toy, something to give them joy. Because you know what? Everybody deserves a little Christmas in life.
It's very true. And thank you for doing that. You know what? It's crucial that us as educators and above and beyond that, because you served your time. You did over 3 decades in the field. And it's about giving back. That's what most of us get into this field for. You know what? To make sure that we pay it forward, play it forward, make sure that those kids get that shine. And that's what my Chinchilagua moment is all about today, Dr. Moreno. You know, Jefe in New Jersey, he's saying, Chinchilagua? What is that? I don't know how to enunciate that. I heard him say that a couple of times before. Hey, you know what, Jefe? Chinchilagua moment. It's a word, it's a game that's used by Mexicans, and it's a game. And what they do is that we line up with our cousins, and you know, it's those big families, especially during this time, and we get up against a wall, we get up against a tree, and then we all line up and say, Chinchilagua y arriba, boy, and you run and you jump on top, and it's ha 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 ha, and then the next one jumps up, and it's all fun and games. It's all fun and games until you get hurt. Until you hurt, and you trust me. A lot of kids get hurt on that. And so today, on this Christmas time, Hanukkah, all these holidays right now, I want you to take time and, like Jefe always says, take out your mirror and self-reflect on the first semester of this. You might have been the first year, second year, but I want to talk about Jerry Brooks. And, he's a national speaker. He always talks about P&J, peanut butter and jelly. Not about the food, but professional jealousy. And he always mentions that all the all his profession on his campus and everywhere he speaks about us as educators always holding back and not asking for support, not asking for help. And so I ask you, educator out there, what are you doing to sharpen your tools? How many books have you read to get ahead this semester to improve your craft? How many
Mhm.
podcasts have you heard? Because you know what? Now it is. We all learned that during this past election and everything, podcasts became a norm. I mean, a powerful force in
Mhm.
politics. So, as educators, what are you doing to improve your craft? They're for free. Podcasts are for free. Jefe has over 243 of them with different array of topics.
Topics.
No, and
Mhm.
it's not just that. But you know what? There's a lot of people, and it's sad to say, Dr. Moreno, I think you could agree with me or not, but it's sad to say that a lot of us in education, we think that we know it all and we don't want to improve our craft. And if we're at an F campus or D campus, we don't want to open our mouth, or the first thing that we do is we blame the kids. No, no. You are the coach of that classroom. You
Yeah,
are the coach of that building. And if your play's not running, change the playbook.
exactly.
You got to coach them every single last day, and you got to change it. How do you do that? By podcasts, by different books from Solution Tree, from independent authors, from ASCD books, from all over. Attend the conferences, whether your state level conference or your national conferences. Beg, borrow, and steal ideas and make them your own. Make them your own gumbo. But you know what? You cannot
Mhm.
be you cannot be jealous of asking for help. You cannot have envy of anybody else. Hey, if you're a D
Or be
campus,
afraid.
or be
Yeah,
afraid.
yeah.
If you're at D campus and next door to you, same staff, I mean, same type of kid, and they're an A campus, go call, go send your teachers, let them
Mhm.
walk those hallways and see what true culture is and climate, and they could bring back those ideas. What do you think, Dr. Moreno?
You know, Josh, this is a time for me to, it's my time to kind of, reflect as well. So I've been busy doing so many, just like our person that we are hosting this afternoon, this evening. This is my time to reflect on what I'm doing as well. So guess what? There's a lot of things that I still need to kind of brush up on. There's a lot of information on AI that I don't know about, and just information to again just sharpen my own tools. And so we all need this. So I'm so glad that you mentioned podcasts because those are free. And as a matter of fact, I heard one yesterday, which kind of it put a smile on my face because one, I knew the person who was speaking, and two, she just kind of made me smile because I heard so many reassuring things that I know I've said many times, and here she is now preaching to others about the work that she's experienced as well herself. So you know what, Josh, this is a great time to really think about it. Because guess what? January is coming super fast. And you know what happens in January? Testing, and more testing. You have TOPAS and STAR. And I know those people in Iowa and Wisconsin, they don't know, but you have WIDA, you have all of your state assessments. And so, you know what? We're all in this work together. And so I hope everybody just sits back, you could look at yourself in the mirror and see where do I need to get better, because we all
Right.
do. We all need that.
And just when you go back to your first day back for PD, you know what? It should be with a growth mindset. And us
Mm-hmm.
as educators, we set the tone, especially the first day back with our kids for semester number 2. You're like, oh, the break was too short. Oh, I wish I was still on my couch. That right there, we tell the kids not to do that when we walk into our classrooms. We tell
Yeah.
them that. Why do we do it with ourselves? And we set that toxic mentality out there. So it's very important that even though, just like Rita Pearson said, we might not like the situation or we might not like certain kids, but we can't make anyone feel like we don't. And it's crucial we take that time entering our campus, entering our school, our grade level, our content area, that we're ready and on fire. Yeah, I enjoy time with your family, but you know what? They're coming. They're coming. Though you know that the older that you get, as me, you know what? I don't want to speak for your age, Dr. Moreno, but you know that time goes like water through your hands. So that's our Chichilagua moment and a spotlight. I need to spotlight last week's show. You know what? We've had 32 awesome shows, 33. It doesn't stop today with Principal Kafele, but we had Lainey Rao, Dr. Godino, the Culture Queen. We had Chaz Perez, the boss educator, last week, preparing for everybody. So if you didn't see last week's show, you got to watch it. You know what? That is another free podcast that will pick you up, inspire you, because if you know anything about those individuals right there, they're on fire. Like there's this young man that I know, he's always on fire. He's on fire now. He's not on fire. He's on fire now. And they brought the fire to everybody else. Before we bring the man of the hour, big shout out to the Fantastic Four. They're here. Coach Hurt. I'm talking good today, Coach Hurt. I'm talking good today. And I'm going to bring it down like Luther. I'm going to take it down a little bit like Luther. And Dr. Sheikah Houston in the house. The two systems doctors. Thank you for being here. But most importantly, Dot McKeever Cheever, thank you for being here, part of the show. Always inspiring energy and inviting everyone to be part of the podcast. But without further ado, Jefe, come on board. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Shout out. I know that your G-men didn't do that good today, but it's all right, Jefe. It's all right. You guys have plenty of Super Bowl champions.
Terrible.
Welcome to the show, Jefe.
Good to be here.
And we're going to let Dr. Moreno take it away.
You know, I'm just, Principal Kafele, you're everywhere. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine and they're like, wow, like, you know him. And I was like, yeah, of course I do. So I'm just fortunate again to have you on the show all to ourselves today. So we're really, really going to get to the nitty gritty of knowing exactly who you are and what you believe in. So let me start off with, you know, you've been everything. You've been an elementary teacher. You've been an AP, a principal, an author, a national speaker, a Milken Award recipient. And during all of these stages in your career, you've received support from your family. And so my question to you, or if you can please tell the audience, how important is your mom and wife when you've been on this magical, amazing journey?
Yeah, good question, and good evening to the two of you and to the fam out there. I think this is my first time on Restream, so I'm seeing it, I'm liking it, I'm thinking about switching over, right? So yeah, good stuff. My mother should be on right now. I'm pretty sure she is, and you know, she's been there obviously from the beginning, and you know, just been a huge supporter and fan and providing the guidance over the years, the leadership support, you know, all that kind of thing. And you know, seen all 243 sessions of the AP and New Principals Academy, and you know, it's all important. And then we typically talk after the broadcast, and she shares her insights. Yeah, there she is. So she's on. That's my mother. That's my mother. Josh.
Hey, Mom, how are
Yeah,
you?
yeah. So you know, so it's always there. You know, it's a good thing. Family is important. You asked about my mother, so I'll confine it there. But you know, family is important. But in terms of, you know, mother, she got to see me go through all the ups and downs through life, and you know, here I am trying to do my thing at the best of my ability.
Awesome.
And how was so you said your mom, what about your wife? Are you married? Are you?
Yeah, she's sitting right here.
Oh, is she?
We're 40 years strong, 40 years of being together, 35 years of marriage. So we've been in you know, we talk about once again the guidance and the advice and the support and all that, and her going through the same ups and downs with me.
Yeah.
Because you know, she didn't, you know, the guy you see on the screen is not who she met. You know, she met a different guy with a different name. And you know, so going through that metamorphosis and changing my name and changing my outlook on life and just changing who I was, you know, not necessarily, you know, sitting somewhere and say, who do I want to be, but just naturally evolving because of what I was exposing myself to. So I know you asked that question, but let me just not leave it so abstract as far as my answer. I met my wife in May of 1984, May 4th. And in September of that same year, I'm in college, and for the first time in a 4-year school. So, but I stumble on my first day at the university, Kane University here in Jersey. I stumble on the first day of school accidentally on African American history. I was roaming the library, and someone didn't push a book in all the way. And as a result, this book, it's called To Kill a Black Man, subtitled The Shocking Parallels of the Lives of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. So this is not the actual book, but this is the book. And someone didn't push it in the shelf all the way when they finished reading it. So as I'm walking up and down the aisles and having never read a book from cover to cover in life, I was 23 at the time. I for solely because the book wasn't pushed in all the way. I said, well, let me take that book off the shelf. I couldn't see the title or anything. I couldn't read the spine, just like I can't read this spine because I've read it so many times. And I didn't look at it when I pulled it off because I really didn't want it. I just took it, went and sat down somewhere, and then took a look at the cover and became intrigued, read around the clock, went to class, but when, finished class, get back to the library, read, took it home, ultimately read around the clock. And this book of 250 pages, I think I finished it in 2 days. And from there, I morphed and became, nobody really recognized me anymore. And I morphed into who I am now. It took
You,
that one book for me to become a voracious reader, nonstop, singularly focused on African American history. And I should really say the African diaspora. So reading a lot about the African continent, which I know you visit, reading about the Caribbean, reading about African people in Europe and Asia,
mhm.
and just reading about Black people worldwide. And in doing so, it drove me to want to teach school, right? Because I didn't go to college with any focus. My major was what my mother said to study, marketing. I had no ambition. There was nothing I wanted to do with my life. So she said, study marketing. I go, okay, I get a 4-year degree in marketing. I graduate summa cum laude. But as far as my direction at that point, it was teaching, but the marketing. And I don't know how many times my mother has heard me say this publicly, but she'll hear me right now. I always say to my audiences, thank God that my mother recommended marketing. Let me tell you why. I know that I'm way somewhere beyond your
That's okay, but this is good. I've never heard this.
you're interviewing a guy that speaks for a living. So listen, but I'm gonna shut up. I say that I would say not the proverbial 99.9% of my audiences, I'll say, thank God that my mother recommended marketing. And here's why. Because as educators, we are in the marketing business, right? We are in the selling business. Like in typically in sales, you have a person or a company or an organization, whatever, an entity, and they have a product or a service to sell.
Exactly.
And then on the other side is the person that you're trying to sell it to. So you're trying
Mhm.
to make a transaction. Let us give you this product or service. Let me turn that off. That's going to benefit you, and in turn, I'm rewarded monetarily. Well, in our case, we're saying, let us give you this thing, which is going to benefit you for the rest of your life. But on the other side is the student, and in too many cases, the student saying, nah, keep that. I don't want it. So
Not
so here,
today.
yeah, not today. So here we are as the educator, and we're in a classroom to teach children. But in terms of that exchange that I bring up to you, most of us, let's go with the proverbial 99.9% once again, have never taken marketing 101.
Mm-hmm.
So now
Mm-hmm.
I've learned pedagogy and all the other courses that go along with pre-service, right? But I haven't learned how to take this which I know and to pass it on to you. See, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's the marketing.
That's
That's
the
the
marketing.
selling. So I didn't know as those first few years of teaching. Matter of fact, maybe I didn't know in any of my years of teaching that I was using what I got in undergrad school in order to be successful. And
Yeah.
then as a principal, somewhere in my principalship, it started clicking with me. I said, it's those marketing principles that I'm successful in what I'm doing. Whether it's
I'm gonna
the
give you
students
2
or people
snaps
that
for
talk.
that.
Yeah, there you go. So that's so I
But
guess
you're
that's the
absolutely
long
right, because
answer.
guess what? I had a superintendent. I was a sitting principal, and the superintendent told us that he had selected so many principals that we're all going to go in cohorts to Rice University in Houston, Texas, to take, guess what? Exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
A master's a master's level marketing course to
Mm,
teach us how to market our schools. And that course just
mm.
completely helped me understand what exactly, as a principal, am I supposed to do. And you're absolutely right. That's what we do all the time, right? Is
That's right.
how do you market? You can't be the best in everything. You
That's right.
got to be a best in something. So,
Yeah.
man, you just talking about this just kind of gives me chills, because I remember those days where we had to come up with a strategic plan, a marketing
Yeah.
strategic plan. And so we
Yeah.
had to think like how are we going to market our school? This is so inspiring. And so I'm so blessed to kind of hear you say this, because man, I was just so blessed to have a superintendent that gave us those skills. And you got a marketing degree.
Yeah, I got a 4-year marketing degree at summa
Wow.
cum laude, so I really paid attention.
So big shout out to the queen of the
Yeah, the
castle
queen
right
of the
there
castle.
next to you. You know what, Jefe? I really believe that the Lord's put people on your path in life for a purpose, for a reason. And going back to the Venetian in Las Vegas at NASSP 2013,
Yeah,
2014, you were the last session. You were there, talked, heard you, and since then I've heard you
yeah,
countless times, brother.
yeah.
It's a beautiful thing
Probably every first
because
word I say, okay, here you go. I know this story.
that allows me to be your Flavor Flav at conferences, right? That allows me to like, oh, hey, we were at a conference and said, you guys know each other? I thought you came together. I go, no. It's just you just build up knowing each other's cues, part of the
Yeah,
marketing.
that's right.
You learn
That's
each
right.
other's cues. And, and part of the thing, and I'll just put this out there. I think I said at one of our roundtables, like we're gonna have this Saturday with you. I'm an immigrant. I had to learn English. I come from poverty. I know how to deal with those kind of situations. I'm a history major. I have a master's in history. I studied everything. A lot of stuff that allows me to connect with a lot of situations. But speaking to you, I've learned a lot from the angle of dealing with my black children. I saw it, but then I didn't see it until I saw it through your words. Does that
Yep,
make sense?
absolutely.
And so it's just repeated and understanding it. And that's where my question to you is, Jefe, is this. I know that you tell this beautiful story about you had a lot of failures in high school. Like Mari deals with failures when she was a administrator with immigrants. Right now, the current campus I'm at, I've got 20-year-old Mexican kids that just tapped out on school. And you know what? Whenever I hear that stuff, I think about Jefe. You graduated in 5 years, and then you snapped out of it. Your mom moved you out. If you all don't know the stories, he's got 243 shows. He'll talk about this, so make sure you follow that guy right there and get him to 23,000. You got 23,000, or you don't have 23,000?
We hit it yesterday. They blessed me, so we over 23,000 now.
All right, good. And
Yeah,
so my question to you is this, and I've always loved when you talk about this, and it's very inspirational as a human being, that part of your change was not only the book you just mentioned earlier, and it's kind of like you're reading my questions beforehand, but Carter G. Woodson. Yeah, there we go. Please take it out. The miseducation. So, can you please talk to the audience about how not only this book transformed you, how that magical moment, like I said, God put me before you in the last sessions on NASSP, and we've been writing together since then. God talks to us in different ways, whatever deity you believe in. He puts stuff in front of us to have those aha moments, spiritual ones.
Yeah.
So my question to you is this, Jefe. Tell the story, but real quick, about how you found that book, The Miseducation, and how that radically changed you because de tu corazón, from your heart, you talk about that to the audiences, and many get it. But you know what? I notice in the eyes, a lot don't get it. They don't
Yeah.
get the pop.
Yeah.
Talk to the audience about that book and how important it
Yeah.
was to you.
Yeah. This is you won't find a copy that looks like this anymore. This is old. I bought this in 1985 up in Harlem, New York City, on what's called Malcolm X Boulevard now. It used to be Lenox Avenue, where Malcolm used to speak in those on those street corners all the time, in those intersections. And I kept hearing about it when I was engaged in all that reading I was doing, just all day, all night, all day, all night, while maintaining my studies. So I kept hearing about it. So finally I got myself a copy. And there's this passage, I should say, within a paragraph in the introduction, and it blew my mind. It blew me away. I'd heard it before, but I had never read it. And when I read it, he says, when you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him not to stand here or go yonder. He will find his quote unquote proper place and he will stay in it. You do not need to send him to the back door. He'll go without being told. In fact, if there is no back door, he'll cut one for his special benefit. His education makes it necessary. So I couldn't just read that and proceed on to read the rest of the introduction. I had to keep rereading that passage because it's saying so much. You could do a whole seminar just on that passage within the paragraph, because when you break it down by sentence or even line, when you control a man's thinking, that's a whole conversation, right? So my takeaway from it was, I said to myself, Dr. Woodson, who wrote this book in 1933, the creator of what was once called Negro History Week, which evolved back in 1926 to the second week of February to commemorate the birth dates of the late great Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, we knew the birth date, but Frederick Douglass, we only had an approximation because those records weren't kept of the enslaved. So the second week, and that eventually evolved into Black History Month. And then he was also the second African-American to graduate from Harvard University with a PhD in 1915 behind W.E.B. Du Bois in 1895. So, and then the author of 16 books. So this particular book, my takeaway from that passage was him saying to me, young man, as long as your thinking is controlled by outside and external forces, then you will never pose a threat nor a challenge to anybody. But the day you become a thinker, that's the day, a deep thinker, a critical thinker, an analytical thinker, that's the day that you can spread your wings and just fly. Right. So that was my takeaway. These are my two books. Right. I mean, I got a whole, we got books all over this house, but these are the two in terms of what created teacher Mr. Kafele, principal and speaker Principal Kafele. If these don't come into my life, I don't know that I think I was going to be a success story, but I don't know definitively that it was going to be in the educational realm, right? It may have been somewhere else, because I tried that corporate world. I tried it for 2 years before I became. So I graduated in '86. I worked in corporate America from '86 to '88. But one of the peculiar, I can give you a lot of peculiar things, but let me just give you this one in the context of the question. I remember this vividly. I'm reading this book. This is right here on the shelf somewhere, called The Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. And I will never forget this because it's one of the most bizarre things I've done in the workspace. So I'm reading this book. We all had our own separate cubicles. So this insurance company. So I would sit my books in my lap as I sat at the desk and pretend that I was working. So when the boss walked by, I put my hands on the keyboard and it looked like I was working. And then when he left, then I had these books in my lap, and I'm literally reading throughout the course of the day. How old was I then? 25. So I got up and went to the copier and I made copies, 5 pages each. And all the black employees, which was a lot of them because we were in Newark, New Jersey, all the black employees, I walked up and down the aisles and I would place these copies on their desk. And I said, read these and I'll come back and talk to you about what you read later. Now I'm out of my mind at that point. Like this is my job, right? I'm fresh out of college. Um, getting ready to get married and all that kind of thing. And I'm somewhere, bucking the system, putting literature from a book on employee's desk and say, read it, and I'll check back with you to see what your thoughts are later. So I knew it was time for me to pursue this thing that was churning inside of me called teaching. So I resigned and got a job teaching in Brooklyn, New York City. I don't even remember what your question was, but hopefully I answered it to some extent, right?
No, and I think that's crucial that for that educator out there, Jefe, because we all get touched by different books,
Exactly.
Yeah.
different reasons that turn us around. It doesn't matter what, we all have that one book. For me, it's the Four Agreements. For you, was that book. We all have special books.
Exactly.
And so as we talk to those educators and they're viewing this podcast now or later on, hey, educator, there's a book out there that you could ignite a kid's fire with. This young man, our guest, he was graduated in 5 years. He was out doing what I was doing, being a drunk, being having loser actions, all that out in the street, not worried about anything. But we turned that around, and something ignited inside of us. And for him, summa cum laude was a book. Were books that
Yeah.
connected with him. So
Yeah.
you might be a math teacher, but you can still incorporate that knowledge. Yes, you might be mitosis and meiosis, but you can still incorporate something that will connect with your kids, and that way they're going to be all the way through, turning them around not only academically but as individuals. Before I pass it on over to Dr. Moreno, Gerard Laws, muchas gracias, hermano, por estar aquí. Melissa Jones Chunu from Oklahoma, thank you for being here. Out of Florida, Otis Kitchens in the house. You know the fam is here, Jefe. They're all supporting you right now. Take it away.
Principal Kafele, let me tell you, I can your trajectory is just remarkable. Let me just start off with that, okay? Because I mean, you are the GOAT when it comes to presenter and AP and principal and all of the accolades that you've received. And I know I went from teacher to assistant principal like I was only in the classroom 3 years. So I understand the trajectory. I'm nowhere close to you. I just tell you that much. Okay. But one day I'm going to be just like Jefe. But my question to you, sir, is you always take the bulls by the horn, right? You always kind of just bring it to me and let's do it. So tell the audience real quickly, how did you move from AP to principal? And how did you know? Because you said somewhere along the way, you said that you were going to be a keynote speaker. Yeah. I know I never said something like that. And here I am doing that now. But you saw that coming. Like there was some kind of vision. What was it? Can you tell the audience out in space out there? What was it that you saw yourself? Because your trajectory is just amazing.
Yeah, as far as AP to principal or speaker. Yeah. My story is unique. It's interesting, and quite frankly, it's not for everybody. I was only an AP for 1 year. I hated that job. It was I didn't enjoy going to work because I was relegated to the role of full-time disciplinarian. I covered the lunch periods in terms of supervising. But the one that stings the most is that I was the teacher supply clerk. So I ordered all the supplies, the whiteout, the paper, the post-its, all that stuff. And I was responsible for a closet that kept their inventory. So they would send me a requisition, and it would be just stacks of requisitions per day. And because they, this principal didn't want to do it like as a weekly thing. He wanted me to fill those orders on demand. So I was given this cart, this black cart, and it would have all these supplies, and I would literally walk around the building like a store clerk, and go into the classrooms with their supplies and place them on their desk while they were reading. Now, although I was a rookie in this work, a baby in this work, I knew that what I was doing was absurd. I knew that. Um, but I didn't realize yet I was in position to articulate that. So I just did it. But I had the wherewithal, in this, in part wisdom, in the other part the marketing, to position myself in a way that the superintendent would see me. Because see, if I went the traditional route of waiting for the post-its, waiting for the one ads back in them days, as they called it, all that type of thing. If I went that route, then I'm competing against everybody for the same principalship job. So I said, no, I can't go that way. I need to forge a relationship with the decision maker. So maybe somebody on this call could learn from this as well. I didn't waste my time with the people who could not make a decision. It's like, if you can't open a door for me, then I don't need you in this regard. So I said, there's only one person in that district that can open a door, and that's the superintendent of schools. So he needs to know me, right? He needs to know my skill set. So I got to know him. He got to know me. So when the end of the school year came, he said, he asked the question, "Are you ready?" Right? And my answer was yes. However, actuality, of course not. I'm not ready. Um, I know nothing. What do I know about a multi-million-dollar budget? What do I know about leading a staff? What do I know about lifting the morale of a staff, right? And everything that goes along with it. But I'm gonna tell you something. I was so hungry that I figured it out, right? I figured it out. And my staff bought into me. So I had all these allies in the building, right? That will run through walls for me, so to speak. And so, but see, that goes back to my marketing. So I figured this out, and we started making things happen, But so I'm saying to somebody out there, as especially the frustrated people that that reach out to me and others and say, "Man, I've been interviewing for 5, 10 years and all that kind of stuff, and I can't get a job." But does the decision maker know you, even if it's not your district? Because if it was out of district, I'm still going, because I left a district, and I did the same thing when I left. I said, I got to go to the decision maker, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
and I'm gonna get past the gatekeepers, as Kendrick is saying. I'm gonna get past. I'm gonna figure it out, right? The bottom line, it boils down to how hungry you are, right? How
Right.
badly you want whatever this thing is that you're trying to get. And then the second question is, and what are you willing to do, it's ethical, to get that which you want, right? So that's, that was me. And then you mentioned the speaking, so I'm gonna throw that part in there too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I went to my first year, that year as an AP. The principal allowed me to go to a conference in Las Vegas. So I go to the conference as soon after I got the position. I go to this conference in Las Vegas at the Harrah's Hotel on the Strip. And Harry Wong was the keynote speaker,
Ah.
right? Yeah. So I'd never heard of Harry Wong. But based on what I had become at the undergrad level, I sat in the front row, right? So I sat there, and I literally forgot that I was there for my own professional growth. I became fixated on the fact that this man was on this stage with these thousands of people in this room. And I vowed that day, that was in 1998, in the winter in the East, and weather was good there. I vowed that I would be him one day, that I would be on those stages
Wow.
that day when I sat there. So I was so then I had to remind myself, wait a minute, you're here to learn some things too. You got these breakouts and all that stuff, right? But I was convinced, and I became convicted, right? So let's fast forward. A few years later, I'm still a principal, but I'm working this thing to become this keynoter. So slowly but surely the world is becoming aware of Principal Kafele, particularly in 2004 when I had my breakthrough as a breakout session presenter at ASCD in New Orleans. That was my breakthrough. So they gave me a 300 seat room. I stayed at the conference for the weekend because I was still an administrator. I was a principal at that point. And so I got there on a Friday, went to some sessions, but I kept going to see that room. I just wanted to get it in my head. Friday night, I looked at that room and I psyched myself out. Why did they give me this 300 seat room and nobody knows me? No one's going to be in here, right? Then Saturday, I go there like twice to look at the room, just to look at it. Like, man, that room is gigantic. Why did they give me this room? 2004, April. So then Sunday morning, I'm so nervous, like that, not nervous of the crowd, nervous that I'm gonna be speaking to an empty room. Like, who wants to do that?
Oh,
Yeah, I wasn't nervous about people at all because I had been speaking since '86. I was used to speaking to audiences, but I didn't want to go into a room at a national conference that nobody was in the room. So my session on that Monday was at 8 o'clock. I got there at 7 and never went inside the room. I sat outside the room. They had chairs, and I'm watching this stream of people going in for the next
wow.
45 minutes. So after the 45 minutes, which was 7:45, someone came to the door and said, "That's it. No one else can come in here. It's packed."
It's
It-
full. Oh
yeah,
my
they
God.
said it's a fire hazard. That's what they said. So I'm sitting there. I haven't been in the room yet. So I'm like, whoa. So now I walk in. They don't know it's me, right? So nobody was like, Principal Confetti. So I walk in. There was overhead projectors, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we have plastic film, right? So I go in there. I set up my film. Nobody really saying hello. So then I start and I do this presentation. So then I finish. They give me this standing ovation. It's a breakout session. Like no one does that at a breakout session, right? So they give me this standing ovation, 300 people plus the ones that were sitting on the floor, along the walls and in the aisles. They were, yeah. So then they're like, how do we get in contact with you? Because I didn't, I'm not prepared for that. So I don't have like an email address to give them, right? Phone, nothing.
A website,
So,
nothing.
nothing.
I don't even
So
think. Did you have cards with you at least?
I
Something?
had I had 10 cards in my wallet. Watch what happened. I put the 10 card. I said, all I got, y'all. I said, I didn't know y'all were gonna respond to me like this. So I got 10 cards. I put them on the table. I want you to picture this in your mind. Picture a table with an overhead projector, right, in front of me. And then I put these 10 cards in front of the projector. Picture 300 people racing to the table, knock the table over. The overhead projector glass breaks right on the floor. Yeah, right. And they got the 10 cards. I think it was 4 engagements out of that, with the first one being in Milwaukee. And then it started snowballing. So I'm saying all that to say this. Me that you see right now in 2024, I'm still riding the same wave, right? It's the exact same wave. So let's go back to Harry Wong to bring that to closure. So a few years later, not long though, I get a call from the superintendent in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. I'm still a principal. And she says, we want you to do the closing keynote for the island wide. It was St. Thomas, St. John's, St. Croix. So we want you to do the closing keynote address, right? I said, well, who's the opening keynote speaker? Harry Wong. Right.
Oh
So
my
yeah,
God.
full circle moment. So it's Harry Wong. So my wife came with me, and we went to dinner with Harry Wong and his wife and the
Oh,
superintendent's staff, her and her staff. And when I did that keynote, that closing keynote, them people went crazy. So when I closed, and it wasn't the I am Josh, it was something else I used to do. And when I closed, I couldn't hear myself closing. So I had to elevate my voice over them because they were yelling and carrying on. And I went so high that I almost had a nervous breakdown. I had to go into the men's bathroom, sit down for about 30 minutes and get myself together. That was because it was a full circle moment from Harry Wong
Right.
on the stage when I'm a VP to
Yeah.
now we sharing the stage. Right? So, you know, so that's kind of my story. You know, that's how it went down.
Such, and just like, let me see, Otis Kitchen says, such a phenomenal story. I've never heard of that story. So
Yeah,
thank you so much for
appreciate you,
sharing.
Kitchen.
And yeah, you were talking about great books. Harry Wong was one of my very first
Oh
books
yeah.
that I remember reading. The
As
first days
principals,
of
that's
school.
we all give the new staff that book.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. So how amazing. Oh my goodness. And look at where you are now, right? I
yeah,
mean, I think if you keep your eye on the prize, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think we need to do that and really vision ourselves and thinking about how and what we want to do with our lives and how we want to, continue with our careers. So, thank you so much for sharing. That's
oh yeah,
amazing.
oh yeah, appreciate it.
So, Jefe, you've been at the highest of the highs when you got surprised with
Yeah,
milking.
and the lowest of the low.
You've been at the lowest of the lows with your special buddy from your
Yeah,
superintendent. So I'd like to ask you this question a little bit, and I know you're gonna make a movie on Netflix about the Baruti Kafele New Jersey fire, and but I think that it's very important that a lot of people, Sir Giovanni does not talk about this, neither does
uh,
Marzano or Harry Wong, about the dark side of
yeah,
education. They don't talk about people being blackballed. They don't talk about doors being straight out closed. I mean, and there's some stuff that's happened to me. I wasn't allowed to. I was an assistant principal for 13 years. I was never allowed to interview at my first district. I had to leave because I was so
yeah,
blackballed there. And so it's a thing that we don't talk about, and it's a shame that we really hurt educators. We move principals to the teaching to the classroom in
yeah,
1 year. That
yeah,
happens. You make assistant principals back into the classroom. You make directors teachers. I mean, I've seen it all. It's not a night. There's a dark side to
oh yeah,
education.
Mm.
And so my question to you is, and I just I needed to preface that by saying that, hey, educator, it happens to everybody, but there's always a light. Hey, the Lord opened the door for me at a neighboring district. They saw the ethic that I had. They came on. They said, "Come on over." So I know you want to do this as a movie, but I think it's such an important story. And I don't know who's going to play your role. I don't know who's going to play your role, but tell people just a little nugget of what happened to you about
yeah,
what he told you to do, and you said, "I ain't
yeah.
doing that."
Little nugget. Let me show you this. Let me show you this picture
I
first.
think you rather do the Netflix movie.
This my wedding picture is my most important picture. It's over there on the mantle. And then my second most important picture is this one. That's just me with
Hmm.
my hands over my head. I'm sitting in my auditorium on at the foot of the stage, and I'll give you the backdrop to that. Let me put that back and I'm gonna give you the short version because it's long. But I had a superintendent. I left my district. Wanted to try some things in a different environment that I had already done in my home environment, the city that produced me, East Orange, New Jersey. So I wanted to go somewhere else. Got homesick probably the same day I got there and wanted to get back home. So about a year later, I returned home, but they had a new superintendent there. And we didn't see eye to eye at all. So to make a long story short, he wanted me to do some things that I felt were unethical. And what that includes is we were a pilot program for an after school program. And he wanted the students to stay late. We were a middle school and we're in an urban environment. So, we're conscious of how late we dismiss students in an urban environment. So he wanted them to stay beyond when it got dark outside. And I told him, I said, I don't support that. And the parents are not going to support it. And I don't want the children leaving that late because all of them don't have a ride. We're not providing transportation, that type of thing. And even if we did, it wouldn't be to their homes. It would just be to another school that may be closer to their home. So he said to me to chain the doors and put my security on the doors and don't let them out the building. So that was my last straw. And I said, I told him I'm not doing it. So he told the board members that I requested a transfer. And the board members, and this is the city that I'm from. I'm born there. I'm raised there. So I kind of know board members, right? At that time. So they approved without it being on the agenda for me to be transferred to another school. And so after the meeting, I asked them, I said, why did you approve this? And they said, because the superintendent said you requested it. And I hadn't requested it. I wanted to be in my school. So I go to the new school and he gave them a letter, the staff, like before I arrived, and it essentially said I was incompetent. So they needed to put me somewhere else. So it got heated, and I'm not going to get specific there. That we can put that in the movie, right? But it got heated verbally and on my part, and I was suspended and told never to return back to campus until my termination hearing. So on September the 17th, 2004, I was suspended. The East Orange police were called to escort me to the parking lot. On September 19th, which was a Sunday, I had a radio interview because I had a brand new book out called A Handbook for Teachers of African American Children. So it was the most popular radio station in New York City, which covers New Jersey, as well as New York and parts of Pennsylvania. So about 3 million listeners. So I'm on the radio. It's a talk show. I'm on the radio talking about my new book until they opened up the phone lines. And when they opened up the phone lines, you had all these parents that got through to say, why are you, who supported me, who said, why are we talking about a book when your termination hearing is on Wednesday? So the hosts, they were taken aback by it, like, what's going on? I said, don't worry about it. Let's talk about my book. No, what's going on? So they wanted to know. So I told them. So there was no more discussion on my book. So the whole hour just about was devoted to what was going on with me. So the host says, the host is a popular recording artist. Some of the people on the call may know him, James Mtume. If you know Biggie's song Juicy, well, that song playing in the background is James Mtume. If you listen to Stephanie Mills, he wrote all her songs. You listen to Roberta Flack, he wrote a lot of her songs, and so many others. So, and then he had his own music. So he was one of the hosts. He was also political. And he said, everybody within the sound of my voice, be at that East Orange board meeting on Wednesday night, September 22nd, 2004. And it wasn't 3 million there, but it sure felt like it, right? It was a lot of people there. And my kids were there in full force, and my staff, they were dressed in black. And the kids were outside. We were 3 stories up. The kids were outside chanting so loud that we could not hear the proceedings, right? So the people that spoke, I didn't know most of them. These were people who heard the radio broadcast. And then I was the lead story on the news, Principal Under Fire. So people who saw the news, they came to that board meeting. So here's long story short. I was reinstated that night, unanimously, and with the conclusion that Mr. Kafele did nothing wrong, because I did nothing wrong. I fought for my kids. And I brought my youngest son, who was about 12 at the time, or something like that. He's 34 now, and I always say to people when I talk about this story, I say, I am so glad that I conducted myself that way. And I spoke, by the way. I spoke for a long time. And I was so raw in what I said at the board meeting that the board president said to me, and we have all the footage, so I look at it from time to time. The board president said to me, you don't speak like someone who's fighting for their job. And I said, because I'm not fighting for my job, right? I'm just speaking my truth, right? So they reinstated me and asked me to report to school the next day. So I took a day off to regroup, and then I went on back to school. But down in Newark at Essex County Vocational Technical School District, the superintendent had seen the newscast, and he started calling to recruit me to go to his school, to go to his district. And I refused. I wanted to stay in my city, as I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And he kept calling, and I told my secretary, screen the calls, and I don't tell him I don't want it. So he finally got me after hours, and he said, just come down and hear me out. So I went down and heard him out, and I decided that since I knew I wanted to be a speaker, I will do 1 year. I never worked in a high school. So I did the 1 year, but within the first week of school, I fell in love with the place, fell in love with the students, fell in love with the staff. So 1 year became 2 years, and then 2 years became 6 years.
Wow.
And then finally but in my 5th year, this happened. This was a billionaire by the name of Lowell Milken, who comes to my school. I never heard of him. I heard of his brother, Michael, but I didn't know him. So he's in my school, and we've got an assembly, and he's telling us, the ruse to confuse me was that the state was launching a new initiative. So that's what I was told to get me and my students into the auditorium, the gymnasium. So once the commissioner finished speaking, because, the Milken's a big deal. The governor's supposed to be there, but our governor couldn't make it. Chris Christie.
Mm-hmm.
The media's there. The politicians, our current Senator Cory Booker was the mayor at the time. So he was there, and others. So Lowell Milken begins to speak, and he's talking still about education, but then he says we're giving an award to a special educator, that type of thing. And then ultimately it was he called my name, and that was my reaction.
Oh
Right?
my God.
Yeah. Because for me, it was full circle. See in this picture, I'm thinking about East Orange, New Jersey. See, I'm thinking about what happened to me when I was on trial, so to speak. I'm thinking about being suspended. I'm thinking about my reputation.
Yeah.
All over the television news, the radio news, the print news. I'm the headline story. So I got that in my head, like, wow, look at this. I stood my ground. I go to a different school. I get a $25,000 check in my name, because that's what the Milken Award is, in terms of the tangible part of it. The intangible is much bigger than that. So, because in this moment, I know that he called my name, and I know there's money waiting for me, and I know my kids are giving me a standing ovation, but I don't know what that means yet. I have no idea what it means to have the Milken name attached to my name. I don't know any of that yet. I just know that something good happened, and I stood my ground in order for it to happen, right? But it had to happen in a different location. So I go to a different location, and here we are, right? So, so that's kind of, what Josh wanted me to talk about. And, now I'm a Milken educator, and that's a big deal. Right. And I'm still associated with the organization. I speak at the forum because, every year they award approximately 50 new Milken educators every year. And I speak at their forum every year. That's something that they just do nonstop. And I'm honored by that, just to be able to fly out to LA and share a few words with the new class of Milken educators is a big deal for me, So, and I'm really proud of my trajectory from 2004 to December 1st, 2009, when they gave me that award.
And you know what, Jefe, it was crucial that people hear that out there, because one of your BAM questions is, what do you do for people that are disillusioned? And all I could say is, you heard that awesome story right there. If you're doing right by kids, there are going to be people that are bothered by you, because people hate those who make them feel their own inferiority. And if you do right by kids, people that are not in the kid business but play in education don't like your style, because kids like you. And just as long as you're true for kids, just hold on tight. No one likes the limelight, the negative limelight. No one likes
Exactly.
those board members calling you out. No one
Yeah,
likes the superintendent having awkward conversations with you about moving you. Nobody likes that. But if you're doing right by kids, if you're doing right by the person in the mirror, then you know what? The door will open for you. He will make
Mm-hmm.
sure that that door's open for you. He
right.
will, because he sees the reality.
That's right.
Mankind
Mm-hmm.
does not see the reality, and mankind has a lot of faults in it. But if you're doing right by kids, just like he showed you, kids will speak
Yep.
up for you and will be your
Yep.
defenders. So don't
Yeah.
forget that. Don't get disillusioned out there. That's what's crucial that Jefe had that. And you know what? Otis Kitchen, I had to mention Sir Giovanni, and I never
Yeah.
read any of his books. I
Yeah.
paid $100 and something for them, but I'm sorry. I'm not proud of that, but I didn't read a lot of those books. But I didn't. I got through my coursework. I didn't be no okay principal without reading Sir Giovanni. I talk more
I
about
got
him on these podcasts than ever read him. Dr.
yeah.
Moreno.
I got those books in my basement in the washroom. So when I go down to wash clothes, I see them because it's the thickest book I own, right? It says green textbook. So I see it and I kind of smile. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my goodness. But
Dr.
along those
Moreno.
lines, I know you don't like to call yourself a motivational speaker,
No,
Principal Kafele. I've heard that many, many, many times. But sometimes you make people uncomfortable with some of the talks and the speeches that you talk about, right? Because we have to we have to feel uncomfortable to feel success sometimes, right?
yeah, absolutely.
So throughout your 243 different episodes on your podcasts that you showcase on Facebook, you talk about some audiences that are not open to your message.
Yeah,
So, what words of wisdom can you give to administrators who face a faculty that's not buying what you're selling?
yeah. You know, a lot of times you have to you have to gain the ability to to spoon feed what it is that you're trying to offer. So it's interesting, like equity, right? That's the one that people reject. You know, whether it be equity, culturally
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
relevant pedagogy, culturally responsive relations, and then that whole DEI, right?
Yeah.
Diversity and inclusion. But what I've been successful at, when I say successful, I mean highly successful, is on the Zoom call, the Zoom meeting before we have the actual presentation. So me with the client, and they're asking me not to mention equity, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Once I start breaking down the significance of equity, you can't dispute that. So then they're saying, oh, because see, for me, you know, this is my marketing again. I said, okay, I can't go in there. I can't present to them some high-powered definition that's going to intimidate them, right? That's going to have them like, oh no, we not us. We can't do that. Not in this
Mm-hmm.
part of town, right? So I said, okay, then let me make it palatable. Let me reduce it in math, using math terms. Let me reduce it to its lowest common denominator. So I said equity. So I'm saying, talking to the client on this computer, equity is simply meeting the children where they are, as they are. So then I go on and explain further what I mean in a classroom where you got young Principal Kafele sitting in the classroom who cannot learn new information through his ears auditorily. I said, so what if I had a teacher that met me where I am and ensured that learning for me and my strong point would be visual, right? Now I have a higher probability of being successful in that classroom. I said, so
Absolutely.
you're going to let young Principal Kafele fail because of politics? But politically, what part of this definition, meeting young people where they are,
Mhm.
as they are, can you can you reject and say no to? So I'm sitting right here, and they're like, nah, that makes sense to me. I said,
Mhm.
okay, well that's equity, meeting them where they are as they are. Now, some people like to add with urgency and all this kind of stuff. Fine, go ahead and add that to it. But for me, let me see, the urgency part is just is a given. Let me meet them where they are, but I want to also meet you as you are. So you coming in like whoever you are, okay? I'm getting down there with you, right? So now
Mhm.
we can build you and bring you to where you need to be in order to be successful. So in terms of your question, it's therefore being a teacher. See, as a principal, as a leader, we don't abandon who we are as teachers. It's just that it looks different now, and it may be with a different population of people. So I'm teaching a client. I'm teaching an audience. Now, some members of an audience, I don't know that they're necessarily rejecting me as much as they're rejecting, I don't want to be in this room in the first place. You know, and I don't mean conferences now, a general session. I mean when you go in there to do PD in a
absolutely,
auditorium, right? In a gymnasium, in a library, whatever. A lot of folks, for whatever the reason, and there's a lot of reasons, they just don't want to be. They just don't want PD. So I don't want to sit here and learn from this person, right? It's not that they dislike the person. It's just that it's what the person stands for. I don't want that. So I've got to find a way to be able to connect with as many of them as I possibly can, knowing they don't want to be there. Because quite frankly, when I was a teacher, the last place I wanted to be was in a session listening to some presenter, right? Now, me with the personality that I had, most of the presenters knew that, right? Because I was very, very much convicted with what I was doing in my classroom. So if what you were presenting contradicted that, I'm going to challenge you.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to. Now, I've never been challenged from an audience member the way I used to challenge people. So I guess I could say thank God for that, because I really used to embarrass some of the presenters. I'm like, wait a minute. Do you know the children that attend my school? Do you know these communities? Do you know these neighborhoods? Is this tried and tested with kids like mine? I'm saying that at my PD sessions where I'm the teacher, right?
Correct.
Now, when I was a principal and I'm in sessions with my principal colleagues, I was that same guy. I was the mouthpiece. I'm doing what they wanted to do probably, but they
never did it.
So I became that one. Look, I don't care, because if you come in here to present this information, I'm expecting that you're bringing information that's relevant to us.
Correct.
Right? So a lot of my audience members, they'll say to me, man, you a breath of fresh air, because you first of all, you've done the work, and that means a lot with a lot of people. You've done this, so you're not just in here giving us theory of something you've never done. Exactly. You've done it, and apparently you've done it at a high level. So I'll get that from a lot of people in my audiences, and then on top of that, they know that I've done it in areas that mirror where my audience works, right? So in my case, it's urban, but a lot of the rural challenges are comparable to the urban challenges, particularly with young people of color, right? So it allows me to stay credible in those environments. I'm not invited in suburban settings, so I don't have to worry about that. But it's that relevance matters in the eyes of the audience. So it's as a leader, you got to be a teacher. You've got to be able to inspire as well, right? You've got to be able to empower, to build people up. So all that matters toward being successful at this work.
Awesome.
Jefe, part of that, that was a great segue to my question right now. All your keynotes, your breakout sessions, your the academy, your YouTube channels, you always talk about a specific thing, and a certain passion comes out of your heart, just like it started right now. And that passion has to do when you're addressing, and I'm just going to be specific here, and I'm not trying to step on any toes, whatever, but it's just a fact. When you have white people teaching brown and black kids, even though you might be awesome and you have a great heart for it, there's something about connecting with kids. Number one, first of all, it doesn't matter what color a kid, purple, orange, whatever it is. You got to connect with a kid for them to buy what you're selling. But then there's something specific, the specificity of where they come from. There's a wise man who always says, some of these educators could never live one day in that kid's house. And shoes. And then sorry, I'll write that one down. I'll update my quote. and so it hasn't changed. That's a fact. It hasn't changed. because they're still seeing education in their eyes through the 1980s factory style model that they were brought up with. The bell curve. They're still going through all that nonsense, and we still haven't shaken that off yet. It's going to take a while more to get rid of that systemic approach to education. So, what advice can you give, as I, in my chinchilagua moment about reflecting on the year and learning from others? What can you tell to that educator that has a large number of minorities in their classroom? That starting 2025, 24 stunk. It sucked. It was horrible for you, and you weren't able to connect. What can you do now coming into? Because it's never too late to bring in the horses. It's
Yeah.
never. It's never. Educator, if you're frustrated and right now you have a lead blanket on your couch and you're blaming the kids, trust me, you could get them back in. You can. It doesn't matter. Orange, purple, whatever color they are. You could get them back in, but there's a way. What advice can you give them, Jefe?
Yeah, there's a go-to. I have a young lady that I hired during the era of that superintendent I referenced. This I hired her in 2003. Her name was Allison Patricelli. She's Italian. She was suburban. She didn't know the community. So when she came to me for the interview for seventh grade language arts, I asked her, have you seen us on the news? Because the school had been designated. This is the school. When I left one town and came back home, I get there July 1st. And on July 5th, I get a letter from the State Department that we had been deemed the most dangerous school in the northern half of New Jersey and one of 7 schools in the entire state of New Jersey designated persistently dangerous. So because we were the only North Jersey school and close to New York City, we got all the media coverage in New York news. And that's, again, we're in the New York market. We don't have our own news here. So I asked her, did you see us in the news? She said, yeah. I said, does that bother you? She said, no, I want to be in this environment, right? I said, okay. So we went on and we had a good conversation, which I call interview, but I like to put it within the realm of conversation. So we had a good conversation. So I told her I'm going to recommend you. So I recommended her to the board, and she got the position. So now I said the proof is really going to be in the pudding when the students come back to school. So I would check out her room over the summer. She asked me, because she worked over the summer, and get her room together. And she had all these stations, and that impressed me. She brought in her own books, children's literature, and it was all these Black authors, because our East Orange is like almost 100% Black, right? So so she's bringing in all these books. And then when she put the desk together, the configuration was clusters, no rows. So I said, wow. I said, okay, let's see what happens when the students come back. So I wasn't going to go into the room that first week, which wasn't a full week. I said, I'm not going to set foot in that room, anybody's room. I'm just going to walk past, right? I don't want to I just don't want to impose that first week. So I walked past, but clearly that was her room, clearly. And so then that second week, I say, now let me go in there. And she's taking care of business, like on a very high level. So by the second, the third, the fourth, I'm like, this is like teacher of the year stuff, right? But certainly, even if she is, I'm not going to tell her, because politically that wouldn't be the right thing to do for someone brand spanking new. But eventually, she did get teacher of the year. But I'm saying that to say this. Because of our long, extensive, often conversations, this is someone who did their homework. This is someone who genuinely wanted to be successful in this environment. She could have gone into a suburban environment and done well. I happen to know that that later on she went into a diverse environment. It was still considered urban by the state, but it was nothing like East Orange. And I know that she wasn't as effective in that environment as she was in my environment, which was a lot more hardcore, right? Urban. So she did her homework. She understood the assignment, and she took care of business. So with your question, that's what I would say to folks. I mean, if we don't teach content first. So if she taught 7th grade English, so if she saw herself first and foremost as a teacher of English, then she's not going to make those connections with those kids. But instead, she saw herself as a teacher of the children that reported to her classroom. And that meant that she's got to know the children as well as she knew the content. And
Exactly. Hmm.
exactly. So getting to know the children, getting to know East Orange, getting to know the communities upon which they were coming from made her effective. The parents loved her. Her colleagues loved her. I loved her. I mean, she was just somebody that I knew that those youngsters were going to take care of business, and they did because of their love for that teacher and her love for them. So that's what I tell you know. I use her as an example often. My first ASCD book, Motivating Black Males to Achieve in School and Life, I actually reference her in that book, and
Hmm.
she's still teaching. She'll write me like every few years to check in. So I should be hearing from her at some point soon, I would think. But
You know, Principal Kafele, I wonder if you said she ended up moving on and she wasn't as successful as she was on your campus.
yeah.
Like,
See, what happened was I used to do a lot of assemblies. So I was invited to do an assembly in that particular district. And
mhm,
then there
mhm.
she was sitting in that auditorium. So that's when so then we talked. Yeah, it's not the same, Mr. Kafele.
But I want to say, is it because of you? Because sometimes it's all about the leadership. It's all about the principal and allowing teachers to take risks in building those relationships. There's principles sometimes out there that it's all about, you have the first 2 weeks to build relationships, and after that you have to work on content, and it's not a one-stop shop. It's
Yeah,
fluid, right? Building relationship is fluid. So I'm thinking maybe she was confident and she was very successful because you were her principal and you allowed her that flexibility of doing what she wanted to do it, compared to maybe that other school that she maybe wasn't as supportive. I mean, I'm just trying to see how I'm trying to
yeah.
make that connection.
I was trying to be politically correct when I said what I said. No, it was me. I know that because the particular principle, um, this is not something that would be normal for me, but I did it. I share this with a few people from time to time, and I'm sharing with your audience. When I was driving to that school, when I left this house, I didn't want to go there because I had heard something as it related to the principal. So I called and said, I'm not coming. And they reached, I started driving, and they reached me by phone like halfway there, and they're like, "You gotta come. The kids are waiting." I said, "No, because I don't like something that you did, and I don't like something that you said, and I don't want to be there." This is a long time ago, and I may have still been a principal. I'm not sure. So no, I had left. So anyway, as I got to know this particular principal, I didn't like her. And that was why I decided I wasn't going to show up at this assembly, but I showed up. So she was working under that person, and I got a sense of who this person was as a leader. So I know that in terms of the way I led, that it allowed her to grow. I was the kind of support and confidence that I instill that she needed in that environment, because it's not like she had a background in that
Hmm.
environment.
Hmm.
This was brand new to her. And so with that kind of support, so she went somewhere else. It was different. Leadership matters.
It
And
does.
the type of leadership, when we talk about style, my style was good for her. Right. Now, there are others that I've had, since we're on that topic. There are others I've had in the building where my style was not good for them, because although I'm personable, I'm someone that you can work with, and someone that you'd like. I mean, generically, one would like working for. But if you're one who cannot work under accountability, if you're
Hmm.
one who will struggle with someone who has expectations that appear to be impossible. Like, I'm literally using that word with staff. We're striving to achieve the impossible. What does that mean? We're striving to achieve that which the outside world said we can't do. Now, if that's too much for you, you can't work for a guy like me, because you're not going to be comfortable. Like, so here's another way of framing it. My message to my staff was always, folks, I want y'all to understand, I'm a professional. However, this is personal. This is not professional. I'm a professional. But in terms of my agenda, it's not professional. It's personal. Right? This is personal. So you have to so see when as they hear that, now they know how to adapt to me. Like wow,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like I'm of this community. So in East Orange, I'm home. I go to Newark, I'm in a community that looks like East Orange. So this is personal for me. So you got to understand that, staff, right? It's not my job. It's not my career. It's not my profession. I'm not approaching it that way. This is my personal mission. And quite frankly, I haven't changed as a speaker, as a consultant. It's still that. It's personal.
Mm-hmm.
And I share that with a lot of audiences. This I'm not some career, as a career speaker and all that kind of thing. This is personal what I'm doing. So they're
It's
folks that
your life.
yeah,
It's
it's my
your life. It's what you do. It's in
yeah,
your blood.
that's it. That's it. And I would
Yeah,
dare say,
Principal
Hey,
Kafele,
hey,
I want
Jefe,
I want to talk about your book.
just give me a second,
yeah,
Marty. Marty, give me a second, real quick. Give me a second. Um, I just wanted to make sure that we take a
yeah,
commercial break. It's time for a commercial break because it's time to promote two books. It's the Christmas season. I'd like to promote Barbara Bray's "Grow Your Why," where you will find Josh Tolat, and there's this guy who wrote on my book. He
yeah,
tagged it,
yeah. You got that.
and I'm a part of chapter 23, Grow Your Why. So if you need 23 inspirational stories about educators to motivate you and awesome things happening out in the world of education, check this book out. Barbara Bray on Amazon, ready to ship to you. And there's this other guy that I know that has a book that he's going to promote it
Yeah,
right now.
about that. Yeah, this is what
Is
is
that
my
your new
value?
one?
That's the new one.
Oh,
What is my
wow.
value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? To the folks out there who are watching live and the ones who'll see the video later, today's date is December 22nd, and this was supposed to be readily available on Amazon December 16th. But the first shipment got there, but the second shipment never got there. So now they're saying January 7th. So just go to ascd.org if you need it now. If you want it now, you want to read it over the break, go to ascd.org and they will send it right to you because people have been writing me and saying, oh, they ship it right away. So go to the publisher, ASCD, the initials, ascd.org, and then go to the part of the menu where it says resources and then books, and you get yourself a copy, right? And then if you got time and you like, you're a prime buyer and all that kind of stuff, then go ahead and order now. And hopefully that January 7th date is going to move because it doesn't make sense that it's still stuck there. I'm very optimistic that those books are going to be in that warehouse at some point. There is a strike and that could be part of the problem. But I did see Amazon trucks outside my house all day today, so they are working.
So,
So, but
Principal
anyway,
Kafele, why is this a must read for everybody? Like, tell us,
yeah,
give us a little tease.
yeah. It's let's see that, and that's my main one, Doc McKeever Jeter, man. She the maddest one that's out here, right? and so she's probably gonna order from ASCD at this point. She was telling me, but yeah, the title tells the story. What is my value instructionally? So here's the question that it's not asking. What is my value to the teachers I supervise? As I tell people all the time, that's just not the question that I'm interested in. See, I think all of us in leadership understand that outside of school safety, and I don't think I've ever met anybody that would disagree with this. School safety is the most important aspect of our work. But I put that over here because the students are not coming into the school to be safe. They're coming into the school to learn, but we want to ensure that we've done all that we can do to ensure that this school is in fact safe, right? So the most important aspect of our work is school safety for students and staff. But then in terms of the why we're in the building, the most important thing that we could do is instructional leadership, because the children are walking through the doors of the school to learn. So Our role is to ensure that they are, in fact, learning with a teacher that is highly equipped to make it happen, right?
Mhm, mhm.
See, one of the things that I've always known, but it stuck with me one day. I was last winter or last fall, whenever it was, I was on this panel here in Jersey in Newark. And one of the panelists, a friend of mine in Newark, he was talking about the great things that are happening in his classroom. He's a teacher. So he's telling the audience all these great things that are happening. He's a history teacher, but the students at the school is called Weequahic High School in Newark. His name is Bashir Akinyele, and the students are Black. So he said, I make learning culturally relevant. I'm ensuring that the youngsters are receiving not just history in a generic sense, but they're seeing who they are in the history. So I said to him, I asked him the question on stage, are you the only history teacher in the school? And I knew, of course not, right? So are there other teachers at your grade level that teach history? Yes. So are they getting what you teach them? No. Heck no, right? Because he's so knowledgeable of this history. So I said, so therefore, Bashir, you don't handpick your kids. They're assigned to you, correct? Yeah. So therefore, a youngster can either go to teacher A or you teacher B. So who the youngster winds up with boils down to the luck of the draw. So who a student has as a teacher can very conceivably have lifelong implications, not just implications for that year, but who you had as a ninth grade teacher, a fifth grade teacher can impact who you are at age 55, right? At age 60, whatever it is, who your teacher was. So therefore, that's the spirit of this book, right? On the instructional side. The other books I've written are covering those other components of the teacher, my other leadership books. But this one is talking about, okay, instructionally, are you who that teacher needs to
To be.
become phenomenal, to become extraordinary, so that that youngster has a higher probability for success? Or are you just some teacher that is in a classroom and maybe you see the administrator 2 times in the year for the formal observation,
Yeah.
the formal in the fall, and the formal observation in the spring? But other than that, I don't see you. And in my mind, I'm glad I don't see you, right? Because there's no culture for instructional leadership in the building. So what this book does, it talks about so many things. There are 10 sections in the book, and one of the areas is developing a culture of instructional leadership so that a teacher welcomes one's presence as a, and my analogy, a lot of people on the thread have heard it because I use it all the time, but I'm gonna say it anyway. The football team, the Friday night game where the team is in the locker room and the head coach reels the student athletes in and gives them a final pep talk, and then says to them, let's go get this win. And as the team is marching out of the locker room, the coach remembers, oops, I forgot to tell you something, come on back. And the coach says, I got to give you this one more thing. If you need me throughout the game, during the course of the game, if you need me or my assistants, come back inside and let us know what you need. We'll be here. Other than that, go get this win. So now the coaches are in the locker room and the students are on the field. The athletes are on the field playing a game with no coaches on the sidelines. And then I'll ask my audience, have you ever seen that before? And they'll all say, no, of course not. But I say, but there's a place you've seen it. You see it. You've seen it in places, maybe not your school, but you've seen it somewhere. And that's in schools, where the leadership is in the locker room, and the athletes, meaning the teachers, are in the game uncoached for the entire game from fall to spring.
Principal Kafele, show me that book one more time. I've already there. I'm another buyer right here. I'm going to go on to ascd.org right now and purchase my copy.
What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? And see what we did with the cover concept. I wanted it to kind of mirror, is my school a better school because I lead it? So here we're talking about who you are as a leader in terms of your identity, your presence, your impact, your purpose, your vision, and your worth, and your mission, and your worth. And here I said, okay, now let's take that and let's look specifically at who you are instructionally. So that's
Amazing.
what we did with these two.
It was a missing piece, sir. It was a
Yeah,
missing
yeah,
piece.
that's
So
what it
glad you were
was.
able to fill that gap.
That's what it is. I don't.
So since you've been writing that, I
Go ahead.
just want to give you a big shout out, Jefe, because since you started writing that book and you were telling us on the shows that
Yeah,
I'm writing up a storm. It's just the spirit, the muse is in
yeah.
me, and you're just writing away all those thousands of words.
Fifty
Um,
thousand.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
18
that the
days.
50,000 words, 18 days, because it allowed me to hold up my mirror, and you know what? Thanks to that little voice, that little voice that you have there in the back of my mind, we were able to do instructional rounds amongst ourselves. We sent team members to go to other schools to do instructional rounds and bring back strategies, because it's crucial that we beg, borrow, and steals not only amongst ourselves but from other schools. That way, our kids get the best version of it. So, a shout out to you for making sure that you plant those
Yeah.
seeds, even with old people like me that are able to absorb that. Because not a lot of people that are, and this, Principal Kafele, a lot of people that are tenured administrators don't want to change.
Yeah.
They don't want to see their flaws. They don't want to look at that mirror, because their mirror is full of thumbprints, and they don't want to see what's behind that. So I appreciate you
Clean the mirror.
putting that
Clean
out
the
there.
mirror.
Clean the
So,
mirror.
so my question to you is now, by far, Principal Kafele, the caliber of speaker that you are, an author, um, there's a small tier. There's a small tier. The Todd Whitakers, the Anthony Mohammeds. There's certain speakers. There's tiers out there, and you're at the very top. And I'm kind of okay with social media, and there's nobody that compares to
Oh,
you.
please.
Nobody in regards to. There's nobody in regards to how you put
Oh,
out
yeah.
your vision, the use of it, your message on all platforms. Because and it's you. And I know you've heard that, you said it before, that it's crucial that I put it out there, yourself, because you don't want some clerk, you don't want some aide to put out something that's not of your spirit, that's not of your vision. And so that's an amazing thing that you do. And I mean, it's great. So welcome, Roz Gaskins. And buy her book. It's a brand new elementary book, and she has a PLC
She'll
book
she'll
also. So Dr.
she'll be opening for us on Saturday. She'll I'm gonna have her
Oh,
come on and during my monologue and just share for about 10 minutes, and then we'll come on. Yeah.
awesome. And so my question to you is this, as as we're trying to wrap up the show now, is what advice do you give to aspiring administrators and those seasoned, and I'm using this not in a good way, those seasoned administrators who refuse to use social media? Because I've heard it say that I'm not going to do that. That's a waste of my time. As it is, the job takes up all my time, and it's a waste of my time. And I don't know how to use that. And I'm scared that they're going to copy my file and they're going to put ugly things out there. That's all I hear. Myself, I've been doing this for a while, and I think I've only had 3 or 4 out of the thousands upon thousands and thousands of posts. And you all know thousands of posts.
Yeah.
I've had 2 or 3 that are negative, and what I do is I block them real quick. I have not had a bad. On the contrary, it's changed the culture, as you can find in my book. That the use of social media turns it around. So, can you talk to administrator out there that says, "No, I'm not gonna get on insert your platform. I'm not gonna spread the message"?
It's comparable to what you always say. Those are folks that still buy their videos at Blockbuster, right? It's this is where we
Or
are.
have a pager.
Have a pager, right? It's this social media is this is the world we live in now. You look at sports. I mean, the NFL is on Netflix this week, right? It's the big games are on Netflix. You can get the sorry games on CBS, right? but the big games this week on Christmas Day, they're on Netflix now. So this is where the world is. And then you got big games on Prime Video every week, every Thursday. And those are not fluff games. Those are games that matter. So that's the world we're in. So I say to leaders, it doesn't mean like when Facebook and even MySpace, when those platforms were in their infancy, and you got to put on, I'm eating at this restaurant. No, it's not that. You have to know how to strategically use it, right?
Mhm.
And it's and when you're strategic about it, because your audience, meaning your students, your parents, and your staff, because chances are you got a lot of young parents and you've got obviously children in the building. So and then you've got people in the community that you want to be your allies, and
Mhm.
chances are those are young people, right? A lot
Mhm.
of the reason that I got through my situation in '04, because I had a whole community out there that had
Yeah,
my back. So you want to make sure that you're using your social media as your vehicle of public relations, right? That's your PR. That's how, I'm using, like you said about myself. Yeah, that's I gotta promote my book. I know that there's probably someone out there that hasn't told me that it looks like I'm tooting my own horn, but what they don't realize is that if I don't do what I'm doing with my book on social media, then no one's going to know about it. ASCD will do their mailer every quarter. Okay, well, that's going to the members. But what about the people that follow me on social media who are
exactly.
not members, right? And then I
Yeah,
got the people who come on the Saturday Academy who may not necessarily follow my post, but they will watch the Saturday Academy. So now I've got multiple different vehicles. Now I got people on X who are not on Twitter. I mean, who are not on Facebook. Then I got people who are friends of mine on, or followers on Instagram, who are not necessarily looking at my posts on Facebook and Blue Sky and LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. So it's different audiences. So I'm not
exactly.
tooting my horn. I'm a one-man show to say this book exists. So when I get informed that 2 days after it was released, that it's at 2,000 copies sold, and I know that's all me. That's not ASCD. Ain't no way, right? So because they haven't put anything with print out there yet that has it. And I'm glad, Stephanie, that you're still there. Let me shout out Stephanie real quick. Stephanie Roth, put her name back up there so I can see what she wrote. Your offering, yeah, not selling the product. Stephanie Roth was the publisher of ASCD. For not the whole time I've been with them as an author, but for like right in the middle now. So man, what an asset that she was to me during the years that she was at ASCD, right? So shout out to Stephanie. Good to see you tonight, Stephanie, and Stephanie Roth. So, but I'll say the principles. If you don't write your narrative, the
Mhm.
people outside the walls of your school,
We'll
they'll
write it
write it
for
for you. So, and when you talk about brand, this is like a real topic for me. Brand.
you.
Well, there are two ways to look at brand. There's brand identity and there's brand image. So I have crafted an identity called Principal Kafele, right? My students didn't call me. Principal Kafele was not the principal of the schools I led, right? Nobody ever called me Principal Kafele in a building, right? Principal Kafele is the speaker brand that I literally created. Now, where did I get the word? Because when you hear someone out here in the world calling themselves Principal so-and-so, because everybody does it, I started that. I know that, right? Because a parent of mine, myself and Dr. Vincent Stallings, which I know you know who that is, Josh. That's my butt. That's my man. So Stallings was my VP. I hired him as a vice principal, assistant principal. So one of our parents was from England, and we were talking one day, and she said, Principal Kafele, blah blah blah, and I questioned it. I said, wait, what are you calling me that like that for? She said, that's how we do it in England. Oh, so then I'll say to Stallings, I said, yo, we were young, but this is 20 some odd years ago. I said, I like that. I said, I'm taking that. So Principal Kafele was born when that parent from London called me Principal Kafele, right? She was living in East Orange, and that's where her daughter was my student. So when I built when as a speaker it started growing, I said, I'm going to be Principal Kafele. So Principal Kafele is a brand. And I say to speakers,
Mm-hmm.
I think I had this conversation with Otis Kitchen once. I say to speakers all the time, as you build your brand, protect it with your life. Never allow yourself to self-violate your own brand. So principal out there who will see this or who's watching now, who you are as principal is your brand identity.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's this other thing called brand image. That's the brand of you that the public creates for you, right? So now you got these two entities working at the same time: brand identity, brand image. If the brand image is not in alignment with the brand identity, then your brand is not who you say you are. Your brand is who the public says you are. And now your job, your role, which is very difficult, is to overcome the brand image. Because it's not like you have access, you don't have a platform that says, I got all of you and I can convince you that I'm really who I say I am. No,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be who they see you to be in their eyes.
Yeah.
So therefore, principal, they see social media. And as the leader of their child's school, and they know you got a page, they gonna send you a friend request
Yep,
because they
they
want to
are.
know what you're doing. So therefore, use that to your advantage. See,
Yeah.
when by the time I left the principalship, Facebook was in its infancy. So my students, particularly my juniors and seniors, the whole school knew I was a speaker because anytime I left to speak, particularly on a weekend, on a Friday, I'm taking a flight somewhere, I would go on a PA system at the end of the day and say, I'm going to such and such to speak. I see you Monday morning. So they knew what I did. So they would come to me, Principal Kafele, you're not on social media. They would, my kids would stay on me about that. You're not on social media. I said, I don't need social media. It's a waste because it was new. It was brand new. MySpace was phasing out and Facebook was coming in. And I'm like, I don't want that. And plus, see, I knew that I was settling disputes of kids based on what they were putting on social media. So why do I need you're keeping me from doing my job because of the stuff you're doing on social media, especially outside school hours. So you're telling me I need this thing? But I kept listening to him, and I became a beast with it. I'm on social media because my kids convinced me.
Yeah.
So I'm saying the principle, use it. It's where we are now in life. Don't run from it. Don't get in your car and look for Blockbuster to buy your cassette videos, right? It's not there. It's something else there now, right? So you got to use this, but you got to be strategic in how you use it because
Amen.
if you're not strategic, it can undermine, sabotage what you're trying to accomplish because you didn't know.
Amen. Amen to that. That is amazing.
So, well, hold on, Dr. Moreno. Hold on, Dr. Moreno. Hold on. Hold on. So, educator, if you're not on social media, you still buy your pants in Montgomery
That's
Ward.
the other one. Yeah.
You still rent your movies at the Red Box. So put down the 8-track tape and the laser disc and get on social media so you could connect with your learning community. Dr. Moreno.
Thank you, Josh. Principal Kafele, I can't believe it's already been an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But you know what? This has been amazing. But I cannot not say this or ask this question of you because I see your posts every day. I see you constantly, on social media as we were just discussing that. And you're posting while you're at the airport and you are posting when you're driving hundreds of miles with very, very minimal sleep and you're saying I'm going to speak in just a couple of hours, and so here you are telling us how much of a superman are you. So before we close the show, sir, I want you to tell everybody how in the world do you have so much fire?
Yeah.
And where do you get it from? Because I want a little bit of this little secret sauce that you have.
You know, Eric Thomas, E.T., the motivational speaker. I don't know if either one of you know him, but he is the biggest ever. He calls himself the hip hop preacher, and the folks on this thread, they know him. When he was really starting out, we met at that time. I was on the come up, he was on the come up, and we were both invited to speak in Bermuda, and that's where we met. So we had a common driver, and we were in the car together all the time, going from place to place. So he had this expression, which he still has to this day. This was back in 2012. He had this expression that says, you gotta want success as bad as you want to breathe, right? And it resonated with me, but I knew I was already living it, right? Like, he went on and became, he's a big motivational speaker, but for him, he does corporate America. He's in probably every NBA locker room now. He's about 10 years younger than me. He's in all the NFL locker rooms, the Major League Baseball locker rooms, and just doing so much, right? But I remember when no one knew him. I remember when he was doing videos in his backyard, right? And now he's household, right? He's bigger than Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, all those folks, right? So, but he says you got to want it as bad as you want to breathe. Well, me, I'm in a very, very narrow lane. I'm not in ET's lane. I'm in a very narrow lane of education. And it gets even narrower in terms of my focus on principals and assistant principals. And then it gets even narrower with my focus on assistant principals. So with that, when there's a flight delay, for example, as you mentioned, and I miss the connection and I got to make that drive, I'll call my wife and say, oh my God, right? But I want that thing. I want to be in that room so bad. And I mean this sincerely. I hope everybody receives this the way I intended for it to be received. I want to be in that room so bad that I'll do the 10-hour drive, right? I'll show up as the sun is rising. No time to go to a hotel and change and shower. No way I'm gonna have dinner that night. It'll be chips, right? And that's a contradiction. Everything I say about health, but I want to be in that room badly, right? So I get there, and it's the beauty is when it's a keynote. So I'm only going to be in there for an hour, but a lot of times it's not a keynote. It's a full day, right? So you're drinking the coffee, keep yourself awake, and you do it. But like Stephanie said, it's that focus, right? So I'm focused, and that's how I get it done. Like this book, again, I needed to write this book. Every time I write a book, in my mind, I'm saying I'm done with writing books. I got nothing else in me. And then as life unfolds, it's like, oh, I got another book in me. So right now, in my mind, I got nothing. I got nothing right now. But I wrote 14 books. So now it's like with this one, I said, okay, there's something in me. But now how am I going to write it? Because I want this book written before the first word was written. Right? I want it done. So I took May off. I just said I'm not accepting any engagements in May. And I said I'll finish it in 30 days, however number of days in May. I guess it's 31. And but after the 18th day, it was done. Because I kept writing and I kept writing. So it was done. So I said to my wife, let's go to Aruba. Because I couldn't speak anywhere because I didn't accept anything, So we went to Aruba, and every morning I got up and went to the balcony and I edited, just edited. And now at the end of the month, I sent the manuscript in the ASCD. So that was like May 30, 31, I guess it is. And then here we are, December 22nd, and it's a real book.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I'm glad you asked that. Let me holler at somebody out there that may need to hear that. And I know we've been on here long, but I'm good. I ain't got to catch a flight tonight. Somebody out there, the only person that can stop you from accomplishing those things that you want to accomplish is you.
It is yourself.
It's you. I wanted this. I wanted this book. In fact, because I know it's some leaders on here. I wanted all these joints, right? I wanted
Amazing.
all of these joints, man. So yeah. So like this one here and this one. This is when I was a principal, closing the attitude gap, motivating black males. So, we're not off in the summer, but I have flexibility as a principal in the summer, right? So I went to a hotel and stayed there, locked myself in for 10 days. Those are my first two ASCD books. I locked myself in the hotel for 10 days. That's a long time. And all I did was write. So I set a goal. I said, you cannot sleep until you have written 5,000 words, right? And then once I hit 5,000, then you could turn the TV on. Then you can mess around on the internet. But until you hit 5,000, there's no internet as far as unless I'm using it for research, but no internet in terms of checking social media and any of that kind of stuff. No watching television. It's just right? So 5,000 words a day. And then once I hit them 10 days, 50,000 words, I'm out. Do a little editing, and then we, send it in. And both of those books became bestsellers early on. Like within, I think within the first 5 or 6 months, they became bestsellers. So if it's something you want to do, you got to come up with a plan, and then you just do it.
Yeah.
You don't make excuses for it. So principal, I say to all principals, I say it all the time. It's not, this is nothing new. How dare you be a principal and you're not writing? You have certain insight because of the nature of the work you do. How dare you?
True.
You're a leader of a school, a leader of a district, a leader of a division, and you got no blog out there, nothing. You're not writing for some of the major publications, or at least submitting. If you get rejected, then you keep trying.
Exactly.
Or you don't have a template for a book or maybe a chapter. That's not good. Or even if you're just writing for your staff, a weekly column. I used to write for my staff a commentary. That's how the commentaries came about on the Saturday Academy, because as a principal, I wrote a commentary every Sunday. Every Sunday, I'm sitting right in here, and I write a commentary that was part of my bulletin. And that way, that was my little message to the teachers that went beyond the bulletin, right? And that was to avoid having to cover bulletin-oriented stuff, agenda, in a staff meeting the next day on a Monday. I said, I don't want to be dealing with no bullet points at a staff meeting. The staff meeting, I want to talk about teaching and learning. So I wrote the bulletin on Sunday. I got up early on Sunday, and like clockwork, there's no day a teacher could get on this call right now and say, you weren't on time on a Sunday. Not later than 10 o'clock, I hit send. And that way, I didn't require anybody to read it. I can't require it. But what that meant was you have all day to read it, or you can read it on Monday. But in that staff meeting, I'm not covering that stuff, but I'm holding you accountable for everything I wrote. But in addition to those whatever number of agenda items I had on there, or just items on the bulletin, the commentary, and that just gave my staff a sense of what I'm thinking, what I maybe was exposed to, that I want to share a little bit of it, whatever it was. It was just like on Saturday mornings, my commentary, but it wasn't verbal. But here's the other piece with the verbal. Hey, leader out there. Hey, I see you out there, Tracy Berry McGee, with a leader out there. YouTube, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, but I really want to confine this to YouTube, because you can be making videos that are private, that are just for your staff, which allows you to share some thoughts that maybe you don't have time to share at the school, right? Or maybe you share them at staff meeting, but you got like that Wednesday thought, and it's not a long lecture. It's just, I need to talk to my staff, and I don't want to put it in writing. Then make a video. They may not all be happy about it, so don't bombard them with videos. But you may have a message that you can't wait for Monday for them to hear, and you don't have access to them, because if you put it over the PA, the students are going to hear it, right? And you don't want them to hear it. Well, make use of YouTube. But then you can also communicate with your parents via YouTube, right? You could eliminate the need for a whole lot of meetings for them to come to your school, because or like I used to say during Zoom, you can have Zoom meetings with your parents, or your teachers can have Zoom meetings with the entire all the parents of your class on a give like create a culture where every Monday I'm going to be online talking to the parents, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
the principal
Mm-hmm.
can do the same thing. So with this new technology that we have as a result of
Platforms.
the pandemic, we can be doing all those kinds of things. But for that principal is not taking advantage of Zoom or restream or stream, whatever platform you want to use, or YouTube or Reels or blogging or writing the book,
Mhm.
you missing the boat, man. This is 2024. No, it's 2025 for all intents and purposes. You
Mhm.
got to get with the times. That's where we are now.
And it's so true, Jefe, with that in regards to what you role model, the expectation. It's crucial. And remember, hey, administrator out there, whenever his plane breaks down, he rents a car or he has to buy a private plane or he'll drive 200 miles by himself, sleep 1 hour. He'll buy a water and some 100-calorie popcorn. Make sure you have that for him, all right? 100-calorie popcorn and water. You all don't know. You got to know this kind of stuff
Yeah,
because it connects to us. We wanted the chair. We wanted that. And when we're doing our coursework in Search Your University, you were begging for the interview. And after you begged for the interview, you wanted a second call with the superintendent so you could get the chair. Now that you got the chair, you got to take the good with the not so good.
Yeah.
You got to take the money with the cheerleading mom. Sorry, it all goes together. And you can't complain about a 15-hour day or 17-hour day because there was lightning at the football game and the football game didn't finish till 1 in the morning, and then you had to be for tutoring at 7 in the morning because you wanted that.
yeah,
You wanted that. So if you have a problem with that, then maybe that's not the chair for you. Part of the reflective thoughts for 24-25 year, 25-26 school year coming up. But you know what? Without further ado, it's time to finish with the échale ganas. Échale ganas. What is that? Jefe, you know what ganas are? Ganas is a spiritual word for us Hispanics. That's why it's called the
yeah,
PGP podcast. Ganas. It's a word that's used by all Hispanics. It doesn't matter if you're Venezuelan, Hondureño, El Salvadoreño, Costarricense. It doesn't matter, Mexican. We all use ganas. And it's an inspirational word. It's a word that motivates everybody. It goes from great grandmother to daughter to everybody. We all say that to our kids. And there is no equate. There is no equate to that word because it's connected to a culture, a people. People say grit. No, it's not grit, but it's something similar. But it's something similar because you don't understand the spirituality between PGP,
yeah,
ganas. And so, Jefe, this is a lightning round. If you talk too
yeah.
much, there's this wise man that goes, and you cannot go more than a lot. All right. So here we
Yeah.
go. The échale. I need you to inspire for 2025, Jefe. Give advice to a new teacher.
New teacher, go in there and learn all you can beyond what you learned in undergrad school toward being great. Interact with people, etc. Learn, learn, learn.
Read a note, an email, a text from a teacher or a student that inspired you.
That inspired me. Um, the note said, I got it. The note said, Mr. Kafele, I'm a law professor now at Columbia University because I had you as my teacher in your first year as a teacher, and it inspired me. I never got what you gave from another teacher in life, and that got me to Columbia University as a law school professor.
Send some flowers to a current educator that inspires you.
Um, this is hard when they're on this side of it. Do I need to give you a person?
Yes, and yes, of
Okay.
course.
No, I got you then. Dr. King, thanks for everything that you did in my come up in terms of the way you got me prepared to do the work that I do now.
Awesome. Give the name of one person people should follow on social media.
Oh, that's easy. For just one.
Yes.
Follow Sean Hurt and Josh Tovar. I gave you 2.
All right, Jefe. Name one song, una canción, Jefe, nomás una canción, only one song that embodies your spirit as a person.
We Are One, Frankie Beverly and Mays.
Someone comes dancing to that one, right?
That's right.
What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is my own quote. When I walk into the building, I want to be able to see the leadership without having to see the leader.
What is your favorite cheat food or sweet?
Seafood? You said
Cheat.
Oh, cheat. Yeah, that's right. You
Cheat.
did. Yeah. Lately, a chocolate cake. It's a cheat, though. It's not a norm. It's a cheat.
All right. What's and I don't want to hear Ralph Cramden. What's your favorite TV show or book?
Favorite book is The Miseducation of the Negro. And favorite TV show right now, FBI on CBS.
All right. And this is an easy one. How can people reach this young man known as Principal Baruti Kafele?
Yeah, principalkafele.com. And then all my contact information is there. That's the website. And you can also get the books there. It will link you to ASCD and Amazon. So ascd.com is the best way to reach me. Email address is there. Everything is there.
And I like to put this out there for you all. I had the honor of bringing Principal Kafele to my previous campus. And soon, maybe, somewhere else. But I brought him to El Paso. That has a very small amount of African Americans. But I had a few at the campus I service. And I had African American educators. And we've always done everything the same way without focusing on them. So please use your Title I money. I know you have it. I'm looking at you. I know you have it. You have to bring Principal Kafele to your school. I'm talking to you as an administrator for 32 years, elementary, middle school, and high school, and taught at the university level. He brings something that unifies everybody. His message is not black, white, or anything like that. It's a unity of doing what's right for kids. Does he step on toes? Yes, we need it. We're stuck in our ways. But I'm letting you know, part 2, having tons of Title I money in my past, I've brought top talent to the former schools. I've brought top talent. I'm not going to say names. I'm going to let you know that this young man right here does the Lord's work because he's not about financial resources. I've been gouged by some people. My word, me, Josh using that. Principal Kafele, for what was brought to me, does not do that. I can guarantee you, if your idea is financial, if you have a question about speakers, you could talk to me, DM me. I will let you know because I've paid those prices. But I'm letting you know out there, if you need someone to ensure that there is a community of learning, a community of culture, that's your guy. That's your guy right there. Because I've seen it not only at my former home, maybe in North Texas soon, but I've seen it at conferences and at breakout sessions, how he's able to unite a whole ballroom of people and just have a law of love for education. So if you're out there and you need a speaker, and I know you have Title I, and they're telling you to spend your money, this is the great thing for you to do right now. Reach out to Principal Kafele, and he'll be the star of your show. And don't forget, we're not done. This show is never done. Dr. Moreno, I don't know where she's going to be in the world, but next week, our goodbye to 2024 show will be there, and it will start early the following year on January the 5th with Martin Silverman, with Todd Bloomer. We're all going to be together, learning from each other. It's not over. Thank you for being here, Principal Kafele. Dr. Moreno, thank you for being here. Don't sign off, Jefe. Thank you. Goodbye to everybody. Say goodbye, everybody.